You don't need acres of farmland to grow food fast. You don't even need a backyard. What you need is a few buckets, decent sunlight, water, and the right crops. Most people think growing food takes forever. They picture giant gardens, complicated raised beds, expensive irrigation systems, and months of waiting before they harvest anything. That's why most beginners quit before they even start. But the truth is completely different. Some food crops grow shockingly fast in containers. We're talking harvests in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. Real food, real harvests, grown right outside your door. And once you understand which crops grow fastest in buckets, something changes mentally. You stop seeing gardening as this slow, difficult hobby and start seeing it as a practical system for producing food quickly. A $5 bucket can become a salad factory. A balcony can become a mini grocery store. Even a tiny patio can produce more fresh food than most people think possible. Here's what I want you to do before we start. Drop a comment and tell me which crop on this list you would grow first if you had only one bucket. I'm curious how many people are team potatoes, team lettuce, or team tomatoes. And stay until the end because the final crop on this list grows so aggressively in containers that many gardeners accidentally produce more food than they can eat. Welcome back to Plant Care Secrets TV, where we make growing food simple, productive, and beginner-friendly. Today, we're covering 20 food crops that grow incredibly fast in buckets and containers. Not theoretical crops, not maybe you'll harvest next year crops. These are practical, fast-growing foods you can realistically start harvesting in weeks, not months. And here's the secret most gardening channels never explain properly. Container gardening can actually outperform traditional gardening when it's done correctly. Buckets warm up faster in spring. They drain better. They reduce weeds. They let you control soil quality. They make watering easier. And most importantly, they allow you to grow food almost anywhere. The key is choosing the right crops. Some plants hate containers. Others absolutely thrive in them. The crops on this list grow fast, produce heavily, and reward beginners quickly. Fast results create motivation. Motivation creates consistency. And consistency is what turns beginners into successful growers. Let's start with one of the fastest food crops on Earth. Crop 1. Radishes. Radishes are almost unfairly fast. Some varieties mature in as little as 21 days. That means you can plant seeds today and harvest crunchy, peppery radishes before the month ends. Most vegetables don't even sprout that quickly. This is why radishes are the perfect confidence-building crop for beginners. They germinate fast, grow aggressively, and give visible results almost immediately. You don't spend months wondering if you're doing something wrong. Use a bucket that's at least 8 inches deep. Fill it with loose, well-draining potting mix. Sow seeds directly into the soil because radishes hate transplanting. Space them about 1 inch apart. Water consistently, but don't flood the bucket. Here's the mistake most people make: overcrowding. If radishes are packed too tightly, they produce leaves but tiny roots. Thin them aggressively. It feels painful pulling seedlings out, but spacing creates size. Another secret: don't wait too long to harvest. Young radishes are crisp and mild. Old radishes become woody and overly spicy. Timing matters. And here's a question for you. Have you ever eaten a freshly harvested radish straight from the soil? Because the flavor difference compared to store-bought radishes is ridiculous. Lettuce. Lettuce in buckets grows faster than most people realize, especially loose-leaf varieties. You can begin harvesting baby leaves in about 25 to 30 days, sometimes earlier. The beauty of lettuce is that it's a cut-and-come-again crop. Instead of harvesting the entire plant, you snip outer leaves and let the center continue growing. One bucket can feed you salads for weeks. Use shallow but wide containers because lettuce roots are relatively small. A 5-gallon bucket works perfectly. Drill drainage holes if needed because soggy soil leads to rot quickly. Lettuce prefers cooler temperatures, which surprises many beginners. In extreme heat, it bolts and becomes bitter. Morning sun with afternoon shade is often ideal in hot climates. Here's the biggest mistake with lettuce: underwatering. Dry soil makes leaves bitter and tough. Consistent moisture keeps them tender and sweet. And if you really want non-stop harvests, plant new lettuce seeds every 2 weeks. This technique, called succession planting, gives you continuous production instead of one giant harvest all at once. Imagine walking outside every evening and harvesting fresh salad from a bucket beside your door. That's not fantasy. That's literally how fast and productive lettuce can be.
Green onions are one of the easiest container crops in existence. In fact, they regrow so easily that many people accidentally grow them without trying. You can start from seeds, sets, or even grocery store scraps. Take the white root ends from store-bought green onions, place them in soil, water consistently, and they regrow rapidly. A shallow bucket works fine because green onions don't need deep root space. They also tolerate partial shade better than many crops. One reason green onions are amazing for beginners is that they're forgiving. Miss watering slightly, they recover. Crowded conditions, still productive. Small container, no problem. Harvest when stalks reach pencil thickness, or harvest earlier for milder flavor. The flexibility makes them beginner-friendly. Here's what surprises most people. Green onions can regrow multiple times from the same root base. Instead of pulling the entire plant, cut above the roots and let it regrow again. One bucket can provide fresh onion flavor for soups, eggs, salads, noodles, and stir-fries almost continuously. Spinach grows shockingly well in buckets, especially during cooler weather. Baby leaves can be harvested in around 30 days and mature leaves shortly after. Spinach loves rich soil. Add compost to your bucket mix for faster growth and darker leaves. Keep the soil evenly moist because dry conditions trigger bitterness and bolting. The secret with spinach is harvesting frequently. Young leaves taste sweeter and tenderer. Older leaves become tougher. And unlike store spinach, homegrown spinach has incredible texture and flavor. Store spinach often sits for days, losing freshness. Bucket-grown spinach goes from soil to plate in minutes. One thing beginners don't realize is how productive spinach can become when harvested correctly. Remove outer leaves first, while leaving the center intact. The plant keeps producing. Want a powerful trick? Grow spinach during spring and fall, when temperatures stay moderate. Heat destroys spinach quality fast. If you had unlimited spinach harvests from one bucket, what would you make first? Salads? Smoothies? Omelets? Pasta? Comment that below. Arugula. Arugula is one of the fastest gourmet greens you can grow, and yet most people pay ridiculous prices for tiny bags at grocery stores. This peppery leafy green grows extremely fast in containers. Baby leaves can be ready in about 20 to 25 days. Arugula thrives in shallow containers with loose soil and consistent moisture. Like lettuce, it performs best in cooler temperatures. The flavor intensifies as the plant matures. Young leaves are mild and slightly nutty. Older leaves develop a stronger, peppery bite. Here's the retention secret most gardeners discover too late. Arugula grows so fast that it's almost impossible to fail with it. Fast success keeps you motivated.
Harvest outer leaves regularly and new growth keeps coming. Succession planting every 2 weeks creates endless production. And honestly, once you taste fresh arugula from your own bucket, store-bought versions feel lifeless by comparison. Crop 6. Bush beans. Now we're moving into heavier producing crops. Bush beans grow incredibly fast and produce heavily in buckets. Unlike pole beans, they stay compact and don't require tall trellises. Most bush beans mature in around 45 to 60 days, but you can start harvesting young beans earlier. Use a bucket at least 12 inches deep with excellent drainage. Beans hate waterlogged roots. Give them full sunlight for maximum production. One thing beginners love about bush beans is the visible progress. They sprout fast, flower quickly, and suddenly you're harvesting handfuls of beans every few days. And here's a strange trick. Harvesting more frequently actually increases production. The plant senses reproduction pressure and produces additional pods. Fresh beans from containers taste sweeter and crisper than grocery store beans because they haven't spent days in transport. Imagine opening your door and harvesting dinner directly from a bucket. That's the level of productivity bush beans can deliver. Crop 7. Kale. Kale is basically unstoppable. Heat, cold, neglect, containers, poor conditions, kale just keeps growing. And in buckets, it becomes an incredibly reliable food source. You can begin harvesting baby kale leaves in around 30 days and mature leaves after that. Kale performs best in deep containers because it develops stronger root systems over time. A 5-gallon bucket is perfect. Here's the secret. Kale actually tastes sweeter after cooler weather. Slight cold stress improves flavor dramatically. Harvest lower leaves first, and the plant keeps producing upward. Some gardeners harvest from the same kale plant for months. And nutritionally, kale is one of the most powerful leafy greens you can grow. Growing it yourself means fresher leaves, better flavor, and constant access. Would you rather grow kale or spinach if you had to choose only one leafy green? That's actually a tougher decision than most people expect. Bok Choy is criminally underrated for container gardening. It grows fast, looks beautiful, and produces tender stems and leaves perfect for stir-fries, soups, and steaming. Baby bok choy can be harvested in around 30 days. Full heads often mature in 45 days or less. It thrives in buckets because the soil conditions stay controlled and loose. Tight or compacted soil reduces growth speed. The key with bok choy is consistent moisture. Dry periods cause stress and bolting. Mulching the top of the bucket helps retain moisture. One major advantage, bok choy grows vertically, making it extremely space efficient. And visually, it's one of the prettiest container crops. Thick, pale stems, deep green leaves, compact growth. Your buckets start looking like miniature professional gardens. Crop 9. Cucumbers. Most people assume cucumbers need giant gardens. Completely false. Bush cucumber varieties thrive in buckets and grow surprisingly fast when given warmth and sunlight. Use a large bucket, ideally 5 gallons or more. Add a small trellis or cage for support. Cucumbers are thirsty plants. Inconsistent watering leads to bitterness and misshapen fruit. Deep, consistent watering is critical. Here's the exciting part. Once cucumbers start producing, they explode with productivity. One healthy bucket plant can produce continuously for weeks. Harvest cucumbers smaller for better texture and flavor. Waiting too long reduces production and quality. And fresh cucumbers harvested minutes before eating are unbelievably crisp compared to store versions. Zucchini in buckets feels almost illegal because of how productive it becomes. One plant can overwhelm an entire household with harvests if conditions are good. Use a very large container because zucchini plants grow aggressively. Rich soil and strong sunlight are essential. The reason zucchini makes this list is speed. Flowers appear quickly, fruit develops rapidly, and harvests happen fast. Here's the danger. Beginners underestimate how large zucchini plants become. One bucket equals one plant. Don't overcrowd. And harvest zucchini while small. Smaller fruits taste sweeter and encourage more production. If you've ever known someone desperately trying to give away extra zucchini in summer, now you know why. Cherry tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes are one of the most rewarding bucket crops ever. Unlike large tomatoes that take longer to mature, cherry tomatoes produce earlier and more aggressively. Use a 5-gallon bucket minimum with strong support stakes or cages. Tomatoes need stability. The secret to fast tomato growth is sunlight. Less than 6 hours of direct sun dramatically reduces production. Feed regularly once flowering begins, because tomatoes are heavy feeders in containers. And here's the part that hooks gardeners forever. Once cherry tomato plants begin ripening fruit, harvests become addictive. You walk outside just to check, and suddenly you're eating tomatoes straight from the vine. Fresh cherry tomatoes are sweeter, juicier, and far more flavorful than supermarket tomatoes harvested green. Crop 12. Peas. Peas grow surprisingly well in buckets, especially during cooler seasons. Sugar snap peas and snow peas mature quickly and produce heavily when given support. Use a medium-sized bucket with a simple trellis. Peas naturally climb and maximize vertical space beautifully. The best part? You can eat the pods whole. No shelling needed for many varieties. Peas prefer cooler temperatures, so they're excellent spring and fall crops. Heat reduces production fast. And freshly harvested peas are incredibly sweet because sugars convert into starch rapidly after picking. That's why store peas never taste as good. Crop 13. Swiss chard. Swiss chard is one of the most visually stunning crops you can grow in buckets. Bright stems, huge leaves, constant harvests. It grows fast, tolerates heat better than spinach, and continues producing for months if harvested correctly. Use medium-sized buckets with nutrient-rich soil. Chard develops strong root systems and benefits from steady feeding. Like kale, harvest outer leaves first. Continuous harvesting stimulates new growth. And because chard tolerates both cool and warm conditions, it becomes one of the most dependable container crops for beginners.
Crop 14. Turnips. Most people ignore turnips completely, which is a mistake. Turnips grow fast, tolerate containers beautifully, and give you 2 harvests from one plant, roots and greens. Small turnips can mature in around 40 days. Greens can be harvested even earlier. Loose soil is critical. Compacted soil produces deformed roots. And here's something interesting. Younger turnips taste sweeter and milder than oversized ones. Turnip greens themselves are nutrient-dense and delicious sautéed. This dual-purpose productivity makes turnips one of the most efficient bucket crops on this list. Crop 15. Mustard greens. Mustard greens grow aggressively and thrive in buckets. They tolerate cool weather, mature quickly, and produce flavorful, spicy leaves. Baby greens are harvestable within weeks. Mature leaves soon follow. Mustard greens grow fast enough that you can stagger plantings continuously for non-stop harvests. The flavor intensifies as leaves mature, so harvest timing affects taste dramatically. And once you start growing your own greens, grocery store greens suddenly feel overpriced and underwhelming.
Crop 16. Carrots. Yes, carrots grow well in buckets if the container is deep enough. Short varieties like Parisian or Nantes perform especially well in containers because they don't require extreme depth. Use loose, stone-free soil. Rocks and compacted soil create twisted or stunted carrots. The magic of bucket-grown carrots is control. Perfect soil equals straighter, cleaner roots. And freshly harvested carrots taste sweeter because their sugars haven't degraded in storage. One of the most satisfying gardening moments is pulling a perfectly formed carrot from a bucket you planted weeks earlier. Crop 17, beets. Beets are another dual-purpose crop that grows well in containers. You get edible roots and edible greens from the same plant. Baby beet greens can be harvested early while roots continue developing underneath. Beets prefer consistent moisture and loose soil for smooth root development. And container growing reduces many soil issues that ruin traditional beet crops. Fresh beets roasted after harvest taste dramatically sweeter than store versions. Crop 18, microgreens. This might be the fastest crop on the entire list. Microgreens can be harvested in 7 to 14 days, not weeks, days. These are young vegetable seedlings harvested at an early stage. Radish, broccoli, sunflower, pea shoots, all excellent options. Use shallow trays or buckets with drainage. Scatter seeds densely across the surface and keep moist. The nutrient density is incredible, the growth speed is absurd, and the space requirements are tiny. You could literally grow fresh food on a windowsill year-round using this method. And once people realize how easy microgreens are, many become addicted to growing them because results happen almost instantly. Crop 19, potatoes. Potatoes in buckets are one of the smartest container crops for serious food production, especially fast-growing early varieties. Use large buckets or laundry baskets with excellent drainage. As plants grow, add soil gradually to bury stems and increase production. This process, called hilling, multiplies yields dramatically. New potatoes can be harvested surprisingly early, often around 60 days, depending on variety. And nothing compares to tipping over a bucket and discovering pounds of potatoes hidden inside. The productivity to space ratio is insane. One bucket, massive calorie production. That's real food security in small spaces. Crop 20, sweet potatoes. And finally, the crop that shocks most beginners with its aggressive growth, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes thrive in warm conditions and spread aggressively in containers. Use large buckets with loose soil and plenty of sunlight. The vines grow rapidly, the foliage becomes massive, and underground tubers develop steadily. But here's what surprises people most. Sweet potato leaves are edible too. So you get greens during growth and tubers later. And once harvest day arrives, it feels like uncovering buried treasure. One bucket can produce an astonishing amount of food if managed correctly. That's why experienced container gardeners love sweet potatoes so much. Productivity, reliability, versatility. Now let's talk about the principles that actually make all these crops succeed in buckets, because this is where most beginners fail. First, drainage matters more than almost anything else. Every bucket must have holes. Without drainage, roots rot. It doesn't matter how good your seeds are if water suffocates the roots. Second, use actual potting mix, not heavy garden soil. Garden soil compacts in containers and destroys root growth. Loose soil equals faster growth. Third, sunlight drives production. Most food crops need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight. More sunlight usually equals faster growth and heavier harvests. Fourth, consistency beats intensity. Moderate, regular watering is far better than flooding occasionally. Fifth, succession planting changes everything. Don't plant everything once, plant smaller amounts repeatedly. That's how you maintain constant harvests. And sixth, start small. One successful bucket teaches more than 10 failed ones. The reason this matters goes beyond gardening. When you grow fast food crops in buckets, something psychological changes. You stop depending entirely on stores for freshness. You start understanding food production differently. You realize how much can be produced in tiny spaces with basic systems. A few buckets become herbs, then lettuce, then tomatoes, then potatoes. Then suddenly your patio becomes productive space instead of empty space. And the speed of these crops matters because fast harvests build confidence. Confidence keeps people growing. There's something deeply satisfying about eating food you harvested yourself minutes earlier. The flavor is better, the freshness is better, and honestly, the experience itself feels different. You planted it, you watered it, you watched it grow, then you ate it. That connection changes how people think about food. So here's your action plan. Start with 3 crops. 1 leafy green, 1 root crop, and 1 heavy producer. Maybe lettuce, radishes, and cherry tomatoes, or spinach, carrots, and potatoes. Get 3 buckets, drill drainage holes, buy quality potting mix, place them in sunlight, and start growing this week. Not next season, not someday, this week. Because the faster you start, the faster you harvest. And before you leave, drop another comment and tell me which crop surprised you the most on this list. Was it potatoes in buckets, microgreens in 7 days, or zucchini producing enough food to overwhelm entire families? If this video helped you see container gardening differently, hit like and subscribe to Plant Care Secrets TV, because we're just getting started. We cover weekly practical gardening methods that actually work for real people with limited space, limited time, and beginner experience. Until next time, grow fast, grow smart, and remember this: the quickest way to turn a small space into a food-producing machine starts with 1 bucket and 1 seed.